What? Yeah!
Well, welcome back to another episode of the Run Disney Rundown. I'm your host, Lake Sprankle, and today my two co-hosts are actually not able to join us. Steve K is tied up with a soccer game, which is all good, and I believe Steve E got lost in a routine porta potty inspection. I'm not sure about that one, but that is okay because neither of them ran Princess Weekend, which is what we're talking about. So I did bring a friend in who did run Princess Weekend. Our friend Christy is coming back. Christy is from the DCO podcast and also Pack Your Pixie Dust. Christy, welcome back to the Run Disney Rundown.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely. Always a pleasure. But we're just going to do a little Princess Weekend recap. We'll talk about the expo. Neither of us ran the 5K. So if anyone's in chat and has some thoughts on the 5K, please feel free to share and we will pass that along. But we'll talk about the 10K and the half marathon because we both ran the Fairy Tale Challenge.
Yes, we did.
Yes. I mean, you did it. It's past tense now. So.
Yes. I can't even believe it.
Yeah. So why don't we go ahead and start from the beginning? You actually went to the expo Thursday, the first day, pretty early as well. What was that like, especially compared to, I know you went to the marathon weekend one pretty late in the evening, and it's a pretty big difference.
Vastly different. Vastly different. Standing in line in the sun for the merch. Once you get into the building for the merch, it's chaos. But most of the people were pretty cool. Unfortunately, the eBayers were out in full force. Ew, and somebody was using their kid to go up and basically grab like all of the magnets. You wanted a magnet that I couldn't even re-find for you because this awful lady, this awful child went and grabbed them. And then she'll joke and, oh, we'll just deal with it later. Then when she went to the pass holder line, the pass holder cast member called her out and like verbally stated loudly, because I was behind her in line, oh yeah, have fun reselling that stuff. I was like, oh, I should have taken that magnet out of her basket that she had too many of.
You should have written a cast compliment for that cast member.
Totally should have. I was so proud. We all were like, oh, you go. I mean, good for you. But what are they even doing anything about it? They said 2 per person, but if you're doing mobile checkout, who's checking it?
Right.
Anyway, I know
exactly.
I jumped ahead a bit, but look I got all excited again.
There's one thing that Run Disney runners love. It's ranting about the problems of Run Disney and then talking about how much we love it.
Well, for real. And
like you can't do one or the other.
That is true, isn't it? We did get a moment to talk to a cast member, like a person in real clothes, so some sort of supervisor. And she said that, they're monitoring this and really trying to come up with a solution. Because I said, one of the things is maybe you need to start making people who have a bib, only people for the first day who have a bib and maybe one friend can come into the building. And, they said that they're definitely looking into different options because they want the runners to be able to get the merch, like the people actually doing the challenges and stuff like that.
Like, I think it's very clear that regardless, they're going to sell out whether the eBay sellers buy it or not.
Right.
Like they statistically, when they look at how much merchandise they're making, they're looking at what did we sell last year? How many runners do we have? Okay, this is where that bottom line is where, we're not going to be putting a bunch of stuff on the discount shelves. Right. Even then, they're still making money.
Exactly. And maybe they don't care. I guess that's the bottom line. They probably don't care too much. Disney, as a general rule, does care about guest experience. So I feel like they care. But at the end of the day, they're selling the merch. So do they care? Hmm. Wilderness Runner 210, your sister-in-law
Sister-in-law.
sister-in-law just actually commented that she thinks that's more opportunity for a pre-sale, and she is correct. And actually, I did the pre-sale and there appears to be some benefit. So I would just say for future races, when you show up at the expo line, ask if there's a separate pre-sale line, because there appeared to maybe be a pre-sale line at some point. Like, it looks like maybe they pulled it, but they didn't pull it the whole time. So they were letting some pre-sale people through. So just, I guess, something to consider. If you do the pre-sale, you're guaranteed certain items. You don't get to have any of your pass holder discounts, but you still get the items that you know you want, which is kind of what matters at this point.
Yeah, we'll see with this next batch of race registrations. Basically about to start. I think Wine and Dine is this week or next week now already.
It's a week from Tuesday.
Okay, yeah. So next week, basically.
If you're not in Club Run Disney, blah blah blah.
Yeah,
I don't know when
it's
that
this
happens.
week then. I really should probably have that date because that's actually. I'll go through that at the end of the show. Actually, we'll talk about future race registrations because that's kind of important news. But anyways, I do think we'll see more pre-purchase options with this next set of registrations. I think some of the reason we didn't this time was because it was kind of a quick turnaround. Registration for Wine and Dine is now in March, which is where it's always been, because it's always been like the week after our anniversary. We were in Disneyland waiting for the Autopia when we signed up for Wine and Dine one year.
Aw,
That was
happy
on our
anniversary
honeymoon,
then
actually.
coming up.
Yeah. And I think the other time we were getting ready to board the Dream, or we were getting off the Dream. It was like the day after we got off the Dream, I think. Fun facts for you. Anyways, but because those registrations were all in the fall, and, we saw all kinds of weird... Well, I mean, we still see all kinds of weird supply chain stuff. I think that's why we didn't see a whole lot of pre-purchase. Because I think for Princess, there was pre-purchase for, like, basically a week, and then that was all cut off.
I got in under that week then, apparently.
Yeah, so the cutoff for that was the same as what the marathon pre-purchase cutoff was. But that is a good general, like, if they offer the pre-purchase, take a look at that. Sometimes, too, you get kind of a sneak peek at what some of the merch is going to look like.
I don't think they show you what it looks like. I think they just tell you what it is. I am almost certain I did not
Usually,
see one
yes.
thing.
There was been other times where it's up, like, this is pre-pandemic, where it's, like, updated, and then all of a sudden you can see what stuff will look like.
Well, that's cool.
So we'll see. Maybe that'll happen again. But... moving on. Anyways, other than eBay sellers, how was the rest of your expo experience?
Super cool. A Disney friend was there and actually taking some pictures in the, what would you call it? The picture area once you're leaving the merchandise area.
With all the mile markers?
Yes. Yeah. So that was kind of fun. He was working the event, and it's sort of like when you're rope dropping the 50th anniversary, right? That excitement of people just excited about the event and excited about what they can purchase. And for some people like myself that was doing the challenge for the first time ever, it's kind of a big deal. So you want to get the merch to memorialize the event and have those memories.
Yeah. Any other thoughts kind of outside of the merchandise, like getting your bib? How was that?
It's really well run. And I had another experience where I needed to swap out my shirt because they were too big, because sometimes I'm a certain size in a ladies fit and sometimes I'm not that size. So the shirts were huge. And if they would just be consistent, wouldn't that be nice going forward? So we knew what size to order. But it was really interesting when I swapped it out for the challenge. We got the 3 shirts. All 3 shirts that they swapped out, they only would swap out again all 3 shirts. in the exact same size, and they had them in a roll, and they're like, oh yes, our challenge shirts are over here, because I was like, do you have, each of these in the smaller size? And they said, well, if we don't have them all together, you don't get them. I was like, oh. There's always like so many rules
Some rule.
associated with swapping your shirts, but at least I could touch it this time, unlike if people should go back and watch about how you couldn't touch the shirt if they were going to swap it out during marathon weekend because of COVID for some reason.
Right, even though there's no rules
Right.
in
And
Walt Disney
no,
World.
exactly.
But it's fine. I mean, it's good that you can touch the shirts.
Now you can touch them.
I'm sure some of that is like they could have easily, separated out the shirts, but I'm sure they just took because the shirts come in a roll when you pick them up, they probably just took those rolls, put a couple in each of the sizes, and then say, hey, swap them out.
Right. So it worked out really well. And I was there pretty early, still didn't have a problem at all. The expo was really fun and nice. We actually spent a little bit of time there. One of my girlfriends came with me to walk around. So that was nice, just walking around and seeing what they had. I bought AirFit sunglasses for the first time. I'm absolutely in love. And I decided I needed more AirFit sunglasses, which you then bought for me.
I did.
And picked up so I could have a pair for my son. They're super lightweight and super inexpensive. What are those other sunglasses that all the runners use?
Gooders.
Yeah. How much are those in comparison?
They're very similarly priced. The ones that are just standard sunglasses are all a flat $25.
Oh, okay.
They have
so
some of the different shaped ones go up to like 35, but it's all kind of the same shtick where they're, fairly inexpensive, lightweight, non-slip. So they're both great brands.
There's polarized.
Yes,
a
which is
polarized
nice.
sunglass to me is amazing. So it basically helps you to see when you're looking at your phone or all the times of the day. And I love them.
Yeah, they're very good quality for what you pay for them.
Yeah.
But they're still like cheap enough where, you dropped them in the ocean, you'd be like, well, $25.
I mean, $25 is nothing for a sunglass, a nice pair. So I thought the expo was good. What was your expo experience?
Our expo experience was very good. So we did not show up until Friday. That's just the way vacations and work fell, because if you follow along with us anywhere, we also took a cruise the day after Princess. So that basically saved a vacation day for us, not going on that Friday or not going on that Thursday. Anyways, so we got there Thursday. We got there pretty early, though. Like, it was, I don't know, maybe 10:20, 10:30. There wasn't any sort of line to get into merchandise. First thing we did was go into merchandise, and it was busy in there. The whole place was busy, but not like rope drop busy.
So, like, I had picked up magnets, or I did pick up magnets, but I picked up some pins for you. Were those pins available still when you went to the expo?
I think one of them was.
Okay, so just
but I
one.
think, yeah, I know the challenge one was sold out, which was probably the one I would have cared about the most. I think the half marathon one was sold out as well.
So for people listening, these pins are adorable, and I wish we had them to play a little show and tell for you, but they're like teeny tiny metal pins. And in the future, I am definitely getting, Lake is going to run off and get them. I am definitely getting teeny tiny metal pins because, oh my goodness, they're adorable. They're just so cute.
So I don't have the princess ones on hand. They're actually, I just put away like a year's worth of pin buying into my pin box.
Oh.
And they're all like organized and they go in a little Run Disney pin box. But I do have these ones on hand if this is going to focus. There we go.
Oh my God. So that ribbon is pretty long because when it's in the little pin holder, it looks so short.
Yeah, they're almost equivalent. And I know people really like, if you're into the, are they Numos? Numies?
Oh. Yeah, Nuimos. I can't say it.
Yes,
but
if you're into those, they fit around them.
Stop it.
Yes, they do. But yeah, that's one of my little shadow boxes with a couple of those. We love the metal replica pins, which is funny because they used to be like the worst pin.
Oh.
Because they didn't have the nice like ribbon. They had just like this weird piece of cloth attached to it, and they just weren't like good quality. And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, one year, like they were just amazing.
Oh, nice.
But
Well,
yeah,
they're super cute.
so there was some stuff sold out. As you said, you got the replica medals for us. Pretty much all the 5K stuff was gone because the race ran that day. That was all gone and out of there. They were already selling the signage for that.
Oh, nice. I forgot they do that.
Yeah, we have the marathon one.
Oh, that's awesome. I have a question about merch because I didn't go into that tent, but I remember after the race, they did have in the parking lot one of those they one of the signs said merchandise.
Merchandise.
Do they sell? Do they hold back some, do you think? Like what
So they don't hold back anything. Basically, as
what
the
they have
race
left?
ends, so like if there was any 10K merch left, well, they don't even open it for the 10K. They open it after the half marathon, and sometimes that morning, because the expo
Oh.
ends that day before. So they move any leftover merch, which is usually very, very little. Like it's enough to sometimes fill that like little area because that whole tent is half the beer and food, and then half is the merchandise. But you also they'll put all the signage there. You can buy the signs in there, and then the big thing is pre-purchase merchandise that isn't picked up is sold in there.
Oh.
So
So
sometimes, if you're lucky, you can find things that were sold out in there.
smart. So
So
do they
they,
get to sell it twice?
yeah,
Because I assume that pre-purchase people don't get their money back.
yeah. I mean, unless like something happened and
Right, right,
they
right.
refund them later, or they had already refunded them and didn't process like out the merchandise. But
Uh,
anyways, go ahead.
I just wanted to say Amy commented again that she plans to use her little tiny metal pin as an ornament on her Christmas tree, which is amazing. What a brilliant idea.
I have always wanted to get like a little Christmas tree for my
Oh,
thing back here and put them all on there because during
yes.
Christmas they sell like ornament pins too, and I love like Christmas Disney pins is one of my collections.
Yes. Oh, you could put those up there. You could put them in your own. What a great idea. I'm sorry. I'm very excited about all this.
Yeah, there's like little like $7 trees you get at Target are perfect for it.
I got one, a little 2 foot tree last year and a couple years ago, I guess. And we actually took it on a cruise. It worked perfectly to put it, I think it was maybe 3 feet, but whatever. We put it on the little table because we cruised over Christmas. Next year, we're cruising just before Christmas on a Maritime cruise. We're going to shove that little bad boy up again. You cannot do lights on a Disney cruise because it's specifically in there, but nobody said anything about a Christmas tree and nobody said I couldn't have it for the whole time. So definitely recommend that as something. I don't know why I'm off on this tangent, but you can then put your Run Disney medals on there or little
You'll
ornaments.
see if you're in any of the groups, there are people who straight up decorate their trees with their real medals. And like
That
people will fill them.
is awesome. Do you do that cleaning metal thing, cleaning of the metals with the wipe and then spray it to keep them from tarnishing?
I've never done that, no.
Okay. Just wondering.
I
Good
don't
to
think
know.
I really have any that are have really started to fade like that, but I'd have to look at some of my older ones. But all right, anyways, going
Moving
back,
on.
the
Sorry.
expo. So yeah, we Katie and I really didn't get anything additional at the expo. I think we might have gotten one other magnet, and that was it. Amy did get a couple different things. She had gotten a couple shirts and sweatshirts. It was her first Run Disney event, so go wild. We
As
all
you
support that. There was a couple things that I know she wanted was sold out. I know that shirt with the gold like parks on the side sold out immediately, which was super cute. Like I remember seeing the video and even I was like, oh, that's cool. But other than that, pretty good expo experience. They had the pictures out there. We stopped and did most of those. And then they had all of the metal posters outside, as well as they had the carriage out there, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Yep, they had the carriage out there. When we were there, they don't think they had any, what's it called? Any characters with them. I think some days they had the footmen, though. They're out with them. I don't know if they were there for you.
Oh, they were not there, I don't think, when I was there. It was also 8,000 degrees. when I was leaving the expo and like could see that. So I was like, yeah, I'm not going over there.
But yeah, bib check-in, super smooth. I had the whole issue with the disappearing bib. They
Uh,
still send you an expo pass. It just says, it has a little designation that says needs to sign bib or bib not signed, something along the lines. And you just go in that separate line and they have all the packets already filled out. And they basically flip you to a page and you say fill it out, bib number, name, sign here. And then you go ahead and you bring that with to do your check-in, and you go and you get your bib and all that. Super easy process. Never really much waiting or anything in there. Always very easy. From there, we went over into the expo, and I must say I was once again impressed with the size and the number of vendors, as well as some of the displays the vendors put on. Definitely very impressive. Pandora had their whole big display with the castle.
Big giant castle. Also, way too many people, or I may have gone in there, but that was pretty cute.
Yeah, we didn't go in because there was a line like wrapped around it, and we went to the expo twice, and both times. Plus, I mean, I didn't have a lot of interest going in, but anyways, and then Corksicle had a pretty big display, and they had the whole big 360 like video room.
Yes, and they had so many options. So many. Did you buy
Oh,
a
did you do
corksicle?
it?
No. Mm-mm.
No, we didn't buy a Corksicle. We bought one at Marathon Weekend.
Okay. I also did not participate in any of that.
Kimberly says, I'm watching on YouTube in my bedroom. Can't chat there, but wanted to say hi and let you know I'm watching. Hi, Kimberly.
Hi.
But anyways, yeah, but size of the expo, a lot of good vendors there, a couple different races. Merch was pretty solid in there. Pretty much anything I think you needed.
If you are a smaller lady and wanted to try sparkle skirts, not sparkle, boulder skirts, which I absolutely love that running skirt. They had 50% off. They're often, because they're a Florida company, they're often at
Yep.
the Run Disney event. So even if you are not going to run in one of these Run Disney events, but you wanted to try those, because they're pretty expensive, they're like $78. And I actually ran in one, a different skirt, both days of the race. And so if you are thinking of trying it, they have larger sizes, they have smaller sizes, but the smaller sizes had a huge 50% off. And usually that's what's left. 50% off booth. So that'd be something, but you could try them on. So if you were interested, so I guess just something to keep in mind for the ladies going forward.
They're based out of Plant City. Fun fact for you.
That is.
That's like right in between Tampa and Orlando for
Okay.
you, down I-4.
Well, good. We could get Steve E to pick up our skirts for us on his way to Orlando.
But yeah, I was very impressed with the size of the expo, which if you've watched this show before, especially prior to the shutdown and coming back, I always complained about the size. But the last two expos, Marathon and this one, I thought have been great. Lots of new brands coming in, and hopefully we continue to see that. Other than that, I don't really think I have any other thoughts about the expo. Like I said, we did go back twice. Basically, the first, when we went and did our bib pickup, we kind of had to rush somewhere for lunch because Amy ran for Kelsey's Hope. Mm-hmm. And they had a luncheon at Splitsville, which was actually super cool. It was kind of cool to kind of like peek into the, what's it called? Like the fundraising and charity side of it, because we've never done any of that. So that was neat. But then we went back to the expo, did more pictures and that sort of stuff.
Which we should tell the listeners that if you go to register for a Run Disney event and you cannot get a registration for the event you want, you should look into a charity bib, because those usually last a lot longer. So you have to pay a little bit more, but you're giving to an amazing cause. And so it feels okay to do that.
Yeah. So the stipulation there is that you do fundraise for the charity. Most of the charities, if you were going like if registration for like a challenge sells out and you really want to do it and it's a popular race and it's still, the beginning of registration, your fundraising goal is usually like in the 1200s, give or take.
Good to know. Good to know.
I just know I saw specifically for Springtime Challenge, I think it was 1250 for Give Kids the World. And most of them are about in that range, but it depends on the race. The
Mm.
10K is a lot less. I'm talking about the challenge, which is already basically a $400 race.
Right. Is that what we paid for it? I
Something.
like to
It's a little
not think
less than
about
that,
that.
but once you go with the active fees and whatnot. But are we ready to move on?
Yep.
All right. Only other thing I'll mention is, oh, okay. Amy said mine for Princess Challenge was 900, and that was through Kelsey's Hope.
So what I would be curious about is they have these goals of 900 and you post that you're trying to meet the goal. Do you have to meet the goal?
You do.
Okay.
So you basically put your credit card like on the line there and say,
Okay.
if I don't make this, I agree to pay the difference.
Okay. Well, maybe you're a charitable giver anyway, and this is part of your charitable contributions for the year. So certainly some people give $500 to a charity in the year and then they can, work it in so they can still do the race that they wanted or more,
Yeah.
depending on the race.
No, it's a great option, and it's great to see like all the charities out there because they
So
always have their
many.
own like cheer squads and all of that. You always see Kelsey's Hope out there
That's the pink people, right?
with they have the like little people on the stands basically like with the skirts.
Yes. And then they were always were they the ones always on the boardwalk for all like my last race and then this princess?
I
There
believe so.
was,
Yeah, they're
like, they
like all
have a
over.
ton of people, a ton. So good on
Yeah.
them.
So it is cool. They add another level to Run Disney, and that is something you can do for a lot of other races. That's one way for people to get into Boston, New York, that sort of thing.
All
I
right.
know those fundraising goals are like absolutely wild. Like I think Boston's is like 8 to 10,000. But off the topic, so this first night, I'll just mention we stayed at Pop Century, which is very typical for Run Disney races for us. We did do another split stay, which has worked fine for us. This is the third race weekend where we've done some sort of split stay. And I think we're actually doing a split stay now for a springtime surprise.
Oh
But
no. Oh right, but you have cool split stays
so
for
far, yes.
springtime.
That may
So,
still change right now, depending on what opens up. And we'll potentially do a pre-springtime show coming up here. We'll see how that goes. But yeah, so we were at Pop this first night before the 10K, and no issues there. We've stayed at Pop for many race weekends. The busing situation always seems to be very good, very well run, plenty of buses, so we had no issues there. Getting to the 10K, we had, again, no issues with the buses. No issues with security or any of that this time, which was the only time we saw that was the 5K, which was the first time they ever did the new security, and I
over
think they just
marathon
weren't
weekend.
ready. Yeah. So other than that, the new security really is pretty easy.
Yeah, I agree with that. I stayed at or at Bay Lake. We used DVC points. I actually waitlisted, so the stay and ended up getting it just a few weeks before. So something to keep in mind for people in the future. And we stayed in a studio. I actually stayed there by myself, and my family stayed home that night. And then they came the next day to the hotel. So that was kind of fun. But also, the buses worked fine. Definitely didn't pay attention to the fact that I wasn't going to take the monorail to the race. Also, didn't know where to pick up the bus that morning. So I think all of that went fine, but I was vastly unprepared.
For reference, for Bay Lake, you had to go over to the convention center at Contemporary, correct?
Yes. So I was prepared to go to the Contemporary, but then I didn't know about the convention center. And then I didn't know that I was taking a bus. But I found
Yes.
people and found my way eventually.
Yeah, so for the 10Ks, they won't run the monorail. This is talking mostly Marathon and Princess Weekend for the 10K, just because those races are a slightly smaller scale. And then for the half marathon, they will.
And if you are driving and or staying out this way and you are trying to pass, remember marathon weekend when I talked about the 10K and I talked about how I took the road to get to Epcot from just on the backside of the Magic Kingdom? And I was like, I think they were closing that road. Well, they sure were closing that road. And by the time I was on my bus, which was still very early, They had closed that road, and our bus had to go all the way around. So it took forever to do that like 6-minute drive to Epcot that day. Oh no. Lake is frozen. Oh wait, he's back.
I'm sorry, I'm here. I was just pulling up some information that I should have had ready prior.
Oh, that's okay.
But
Then
anyways,
you did look frozen for a second. You were real still, so
yeah.
I thought we lost you.
Yeah, so I mean, we got there, did pretty much the usual routine, bathrooms, bag check, no issues with any of that. Corral situation was pretty much the same as any other 10K that starts out at Epcot. And then we had the race. Big benefit to this was it's the new 10K course that we saw debut during Marathon Weekend. I love this 10K course.
Yeah.
I think it's the best 10K course that we've had in a while.
The first 3 miles are super boring, but what are you even going to do? You can't make it more exciting running out. I mean, you have to leave Epcot, and then what? So, and the hard part of the race would be the end, right? The, miles 4 and 5 leading up to mile 6. And so, and then you're in parks and you're in the boardwalk area. And so realistically, yeah, I don't know of a better way to do that course.
Yeah, so the only other course that may have given you a little more park time is the one that just did Epcot and Boardwalk, but all of the 10K courses that we've ever ran have always had somewhere between 2 to 3 miles of highway. And I think this just gives you 2 parks for the 10K.
Right.
And no other course, at least in a long while, has done that. There was one other that I don't think we'll ever see again.
And that run between Hollywood Studios and Epcot to the back of the boardwalk is so lovely. And so it really is nice because by the time you're like, okay, I've run out of things to talk about to my running partner, if you're running with somebody, then you're at things that are fun. So that's exciting.
Yeah. Anything notable for the 10K characters or any of that for you?
The back of the Packers, we have very long character lines. So we didn't even really stop this time to take a picture of the characters like I had done in the past. Was it the 10K or the half where Mickey and Minnie were like in the back somewhere? Or was it even Mickey and Minnie?
Mickey was out for the 10K right after Hollywood.
Okay.
Like
so
Prince Mickey?
Yeah, so that one I think we stopped and took a picture of, like, not standing in that line. Ooh, that might have been when I got yelled at for being, like, off the course. That was when I got yelled at. But they were like, whatever she did, whatever. I was nice to her, but I'm like, I'm not even where you think I am. Whatever. It was just, she didn't like me stopping where I stopped to take a picture of them.
Oh, interesting.
I don't know why, but so... who knows?
But yeah, 10K was good. I ran the 10K probably a lot faster than I needed to because my friends were like, "Oh yeah, let's go out and take this one kind of fast." And what happened was we ended up going way faster than we said we were going to go, which is what I said would happen. But I still stopped and took pictures and somehow still got blamed for pushing the pace, even though I was catching up to them for taking character photos. Just saying, I don't know how that happened.
Well, you still had your momentum, so you had caught up and then had your momentum still.
I did, but after the first 3 miles, which is fine because the first 3 miles were really quick. We ran it in 22 minutes or something like that.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and then I got into Hollywood and I was like, you know what? They're way ahead of me already. I'm just going to chill. So I slowed down and just enjoyed it, did filming, stopped for I stopped for all the characters, except there were a couple that weren't out for me. Whoever was right before Yacht Club, down in the bottom there, once you go over the bridge. I guess there was someone there. I don't know who it would have been, though.
You know what? I don't remember who it was either, but it was somebody unique and that you wouldn't typically see. So maybe that's why. They just had a harder time getting geared up for, going out and being amongst the people.
Yeah,
But I
that
don't.
happens. And
Mhm.
sometimes, too, you get it where, like, if you catch them at that perfect, it's like a 30-minute time or something like that where they
Mhm.
switch out. But obviously, like, if it's the same character, they can't run out and the other one's running out at the same time. So they have to go, like, fully in and then the
Right,
next one
right,
can come out. Sometimes they'll switch different characters, though, because of
right.
that. Only other benefit though was like sometimes I go out there and there's like two characters out there because they'll cross over. Like I had
Mm.
Vacation Goofy and Donald out at the same time
Oh,
during the yacht
fun.
club. Yeah, and all both this and the half marathon race video for me are out, so you can see all of my character photos and a good portion of the course there. And that's if you're already on our YouTube channel, that's already there. If not, that's Mouse Gen. Overall, though, good 5K, good characters. Weather was pretty good for this one as well.
Oh yeah.
Actually, whole weekend wasn't terrible. A little warm on the half marathon,
Yeah, a little warm. I mean,
but not quite marathon warm.
right, sure, for sure.
But
But
yeah, any other thoughts from the 10K?
I ended up running basically all of it. I think we ended up at the very maybe the last couple miles doing a couple of water walking breaks, or maybe we only walked the water stations. Maybe we walked one or two other times. I was actually going to walk the race and didn't. And maybe I regretted that decision a little bit on Sunday, but yeah, it went really well. I mean, I felt fantastic after that run.
Good. Yeah, I thought the 10K was good. I mean, I always enjoy the 10Ks. I think they're a good like. I mean, the halves are my favorite distance of all the races. But I think like if it was your first race and maybe you weren't ready for a half
Mhm.
marathon, if you were debating between the 5 and the 10, I think it's a better value for what you get.
For sure. And it's like, it's something you can't maybe as a starter runner or as a non-runner or even a walker that has to train. You have to train to get to the 10K, in my opinion. And so that makes it that much more, it makes you feel accomplished when you're done, because a 5K is not nothing. And for sure, if you're running it and it's your first 5K, 3 miles is a lot. Most of us are starting at like, let's run 1 minute, and then see, and to run for 3 miles. So, but I feel like the 10K is just enough of that challenge that you can still feel real accomplished when you're finished.
Yeah, I like the 10K. It's a good distance.
Yeah.
And it's still not like super intrusive to your day like a half marathon is.
Right. And to your body.
Yeah, but half marathon, or 10K. I think we chilled out at the finish. We saw you at the finish then, right? Yeah.
We did. Yeah, we took a very cute picture together after, hung out for a little bit. That was fun.
Yeah, that's one of my favorite things is hanging out after the finish, just like waiting, watching the tracking, waiting for people to finish, and
For
just
sure.
like everyone keeps coming in talking about how their race went and favorite characters. I love just like hanging out after the races, especially when you finish earlier. Like it's kind of empty, but you kind of
Early
this
me.
isn't. It's not a
Just kidding.
flex. It's just cool
Listen,
to like see
we're,
all the people coming in.
yeah, for sure. We're jealous. Are you kidding? This is me making fun of you because goals, man, goals.
I mean, you get more value though, more course
I
time.
do, because I have so much more time on that course than you do.
Also, I will still 1,000% argue that like y'all work way harder than we do,
We are out there longer, doing the work longer.
and it's almost always hotter.
Oh my God. We'll talk about that
Yeah,
shortly.
that's 1,000 times harder. But rest of the 10K day, what did we do? We resort hopped, so we spent the rest of our weekend at Contemporary, and we had actually booked a garden view room, thinking that was going to be a little bit quieter, kind of out of the way there. And garden view rooms are being refurbed right now, apparently, or they were just closed for some reason. They had construction going on. So we ended up in the tower with a theme park view, which was really cool. We were up on floor 11.
That's so cool.
Yeah, it was cool. It was definitely a little bit loud. You could hear the fireworks at night. Luckily, they were at 8 o'clock, so it wasn't a big deal. And then you could hear Chef Mickey's still down below.
Mm,
That's really only going to affect you if you're doing Run Disney and you're like us and you're getting ready for bed at like, I don't know, 6 o'clock.
So Amy commented that she loves in Lake's 10K video that you hear people starting after he finished. So there is still racers starting the race when we're already done.
Yeah, that does tend to happen. I think even in some of my marathon weekend videos, you can see I have videos of like the starting fireworks after we finished. I mean, that's really like it's like 40 to 50 minutes. It's not
Right.
that long. Like races are still going to be
Again.
starting at that time.
We're all just very jealous. Good job.
But yeah, Dennis says hi. Hi, Dennis. All right. Anyways, yeah. So we got upgraded to the contemporary.
So
So we
cool.
were neighbors for the weekend.
We were. And I that day went to the pool. I think you went to the pool potentially. You went to the contemporary pool, maybe? We had talked
Oh,
about
we
that.
didn't end up making it to the
Hmm.
pool. We got the room upgrade, and then we were in the room. And we were like,
Just
well,
staring.
we were like, we gotta just like enjoy this, like take
Yeah.
this cool room in. So we ended up doing that, and then we had reservations for dinner at Disney Springs at Wolfgang,
How
which I
was
would
that?
say was decent. Definitely like good pasta options for a
Mm.
race weekend. We know a couple other people who actually ended up being there for a race weekend as well. So that was good. Yeah, good pasta options. Other than that, it was fine.
We walked over to the Magic Kingdom and I wanted to give Tony's a try again.
How was that?
I gave Tony's a try. I will not be making that mistake again anytime soon. I wanted to like it. I have
Feel
to eat
like
gluten free, so my pasta was real not good. Which it is tricky to make that pasta. And then I didn't get breading on my chicken, which I understand. My husband said his food was fine-ish. It just and the sauce, even the waitress said, "Oh, the sauce is really spicy this day." And I'm like, "That's a weird thing to have." So, I don't know,
inconsistent.
inconsistent. Our server was amazing. You know where we went that morning? I don't know if we talked about it. We got into Topolino's. Is
Oh, you did tell us about this. How was that?
the experience. So difference. This is what made me think of it. The server at Tony's was amazing. Loved her so much. The server at Topolino's that I had to tip more because of the size of our bill. I mean, I ended up tipping the other lady more, but I really actually wanted to talk to a manager about because the service was so poor, except that the experience is lovely. Like the food is so good, the character interaction is super cute. My son absolutely loves it. We like it. The food is really good, like really good. So the poor server aside, we really enjoyed the experience.
Yeah, we've done Topolino's for breakfast and for dinner, and it is amazing if you can get in
Mm-hmm.
there.
Yeah, and we
Definitely a
had like
good
maybe
celebration.
one of the last seatings too, and so then they were just like busy closing up the restaurant, and which would be fine, like bring us a refill, right?
Right.
Especially because we're trying to hydrate and I couldn't get water. So actually, when we went to Tony's, I was like, "Can I just have two waters, please? Because I need to stay hydrated." And she kept those waters full, both of them, the entire meal. It was amazing. So there was that.
I love how everyone says they're like giving Tony's a try. No one is like, yeah, we're eating at Tony's. They're like, we're trying Tony's. Like no one wants to fully admit to it.
No, for good reason. I have heard though some people have had a good experience. Tony's was jam packed this weekend. And like I said, their pasta was a little weird, their sauce. So maybe it's improved and we just didn't arrive during that improved time.
We'll see.
Maybe.
I don't think I've ever eaten at Tony's, to be honest.
Ever.
Ever.
I have, yeah.
We'll see. Maybe I'll give it a try. All right. Anything? Did you do anything else notable after
Oh,
that?
my husband and kid, we all went to the pool. I did sit in the pool actually for a little bit, but my husband and kid like went down the slide a bunch of times, did more of the fun pool time activities. So, But that was
Pull
it for that day.
pull time is the perfect thing in between races.
And here's what I will say. Some of us can't go to sleep at 6 o'clock. So something to consider is maybe if, especially if you have the ability, stay in a different hotel than your family. If you have kids and are doing a Run Disney weekend, because I can't like make my, we're in a hotel room together and I can't make them be quiet at 6 o'clock. So I guess that would be something to consider for even 7 o'clock. You can't get them to be quiet for people with families that might be doing their first Run Disney event.
Yeah, or even like adjoining rooms where you can
Right.
lock one
Something.
off.
Yeah.
I know, or if you're DVC, having like the one bedrooms and stuff like that are nice for that.
Right.
But let's move on to the big and scary half marathon. Now, Christy, this was not your first half
It was
marathon, but
not.
it was your first one in a while. Do you want to elaborate?
Yeah. So in my early years, my pre-child years, I had done about four, I believe, half marathons, one full marathon. Then I got married and had a son in my 30s and hadn't really gained any traction on any real mileage until even marathon weekend was the first time I had run 6 miles in over over 9 years for sure. So since before my son was born. And so yeah, it was fun getting back out there again. I've had some knee pain, and actually, since the race, I've run a couple times, but I have some bad swelling on my left knee so I've just sort of been taking a break, forgetting to ice it, but should go back to icing it. But my knee felt great for the run, which yay, but now it hates me. It'll get back though. I'm not. I think it'll be fine.
Good. All right. Did you follow any sort of training plan or anything for this half marathon dash challenge?
I did. I followed Hal Higdon, which is the the program I followed for all my beginning races in my younger years. Oh, you know what else race I did? I did a 10 miler in Detroit. Actually, in Flint, we have a really big 10 miler called the Crim. It's pretty awesome. And so I had done that one somewhere in there right before I met my husband, actually, or right when I met him. But anyway, sorry, I got distracted. But because I think I used one of his programs for that. But I used his program. The one thing, he doesn't really have a challenge option. And when I had trained in the past, I only trained to run through, but like for these big city races, I would walk the water station because how else are you going to get your fluids in? I can't be like spilling it all over my face. So, which is exactly how it would look if I tried to do that and run at the same time.
That's how it
So,
looks for people who actually do it.
I'm
Trust
sure.
me, I have spilled plenty of Powerade on myself.
That blue Powerade. Oh my God. I'm so looking forward to not having blue Powerade anytime soon again. But so Hal Higdon, this time I used his novice program because it had been so long since I'd done that many miles. Towards the end, I did one back-to-back day, but I wish I had done more. Like, and not just like a walk or a cross train, but actually run and then actually run again. And so, and that program gets you up through mile 10.
Yeah, she did send me the Hal Higdon, the novice half marathon, and I did look through it. I actually think this is a really nice, simple first half marathon plan. I would definitely recommend that if you're looking for a first one. And it's very easy if you want to, make it a little bit harder,
For
or if
sure.
you want to add a little bit more or add back to backs in to get ready for a challenge. But overall, a very easy base training plan to start with.
And he has an intermediate novice or something like that plan, or secondary, or maybe like second half marathon novice, whatever it is. It's still not like we're not doing fartleks in the middle of our running race training plan. And so I used that one in the past and I thought that was really good. The one thing that I like about the Jeff Galloway program is your midweek runs are like 45 minutes. And depending on if you're me and you run slow, when you have to run 4 and 5 and 6 miles, it doesn't take me 45 minutes to run, that number of miles. I don't think it ever went to 6. But so sometimes I just cut them, and I was busy. So I just went to I was like, okay, I'm going to be Jeff Galloway this week and do 45 minutes, for today's run or something like that. So I felt like that was fine. The one thing I would say for me is I wish I had more of a base, like
prior
a
to training
solid
for it.
base. Yes. Because I had the 2 mile base, which for me, and especially post child, which my kid's 8.5, so it's not like I had him last week. And yay to all those mothers who did have their child 3 months ago and then are out there, and 6 months ago and then are kicking butt and running fast. That is amazing. Talk to your doctor, blah, blah, blah. But I hadn't gotten many runs past 2 to 3 miles leading up to really starting to do my 10K training for January. And I wish I would have, because the 10K was effort. And then to move into the half marathon, I wish I just would have had more. So I guess I would tell that to other first timers, or, people going out and doing it again, to give yourself more so that you can run 4 miles more comfortably before you start.
Yeah, working on your base for running is really honestly more important than even getting your long run in to a certain extent. And a lot of that comes down to, how you talked about moving some things to time base. The 20 minutes you do get in is 100% better than the 4 miles you just didn't do.
Well, you're very right there. For real, you are. And just getting out there, because it's amazing too, just how much some of your runs, I remember towards the end, I'd go out and do 4 or 5 miles, and I was like, wow, I could barely do 2 5 months ago or whatever. I could get through 2, and I was like, whoo, that was tough. And I just did 5 and I felt great. That, first of all, is motivating and gives you more of that confidence. And it's just so much more helpful for these events.
Absolutely. All right, let's get into the half marathon,
Yeah,
because we are
getting lengthy.
we're getting lengthy here. Yeah, and we haven't even talked about the longest race of the weekend. So half marathon, 13.1 miles. This is where we saw a lot of firsts and changes for the weekend. So as many of you know, this race started in Epcot, and you did not do the long walk out to the highway because there was a whole section of bridge that was out that you would typically run over as part of the race. So they basically they kept the same 10K start. However, they moved the corrals all around. And I don't know how this was for you compared to the 10K, but this actually worked way better for Corral 1, and I think even 2 than how the 10K is set up. Because for the 10K, Corral 1 is the furthest corral away. And then what happens is an hour before the race, they move you, and everyone cattles up and pushes up to try to get to the front there. But for the half marathon, our corral literally just put us to the start of the starting line. So people weren't as crazy about getting up and pushing up there. We were able to just kind of get there and be all right, this is our spot. We're fine with it. I think we worked our way a little bit up once it was actually race time. But it wasn't all of this, push forward and move and stop and push forward and stop and push forward and stop like that. So I was actually okay with it. It is a little bit tighter because you're talking about starting on a 2-lane road compared to it's a 3-lane highway, basically, when you start out on the highway. So it was a little bit tighter in there, but definitely not as bad as I think people thought it would be. How was the start for you guys?
So I think we should revert back for a second before we even start and talk about the problem with the Hollywood studio bus situation. I don't know if you talked to anybody about that, but I had several friends that had to drive in and park at Hollywood Studios. So because of where they started the half marathon, they couldn't let people park their cars, as many people park their cars at Epcot. So if you were driving in, you had to park at Hollywood Studios, and those buses, people were waiting over an hour for a bus. They started the race 15 minutes late, also as a result of that. And then they waited until people were already in the corral to tell them that. But so I know that was a really frustrating start. It's stressful to think you're missing the start of things. and you're relying, you're doing what you're supposed to, taking this transportation, and you arrived when they said to arrive, but then there was nobody to get you to the start. So I know that was a really frustrating start, but in terms of my corral, I didn't have any problems. So the thing about being in the middle, I was in corral 3, and the people that wanted to get to the front of the corral, they already got to the front of the corral. I'm a hang in the back. I like my space. So I never had a problem. There's people pushing up on you once you're walking to the very start, to start, but they're not like, you can make yourself a little circle if you want.
Cool. Yeah, I did almost forget about the race started 15 minutes late. I think once that bridge is fixed, we're not going to see that whole busing and parking issue ever again. I know we do get that for basically when races start at the Magic Kingdom parking lot, but I've never heard big issues like that. It just seemed like they weren't quite prepared for that.
Yeah.
Oh, other thing, benefit, we were all staying on a monorail loop for the half marathon, so we got to take the monorail there, so we didn't have to worry about the busing or any of that, and I thought that went smooth with the exception of after the race, which we'll get to. But getting the race, no problem. That was awesome. It's the second time that we've done a monorail loop to start the race, and I would recommend it.
Yeah, for sure. It's so convenient.
And it's nice that you do security before you even get on the monorail.
That is a very good point. Even when your friends, though, make you get up too early and then don't even show up when they tell you to be there. Mm-hmm.
We were like 2 minutes late. Okay. Anyways, yeah, so I was really impressed with this half marathon. We ran this one fairly fast again, but I stopped for all the characters, and they had so many like double stop characters. The first 2 stops were 2 princesses each. I think the first one was Pocahontas and Merida, and then you had Mulan and Moana at the next one, and they were like 2 separate scenes. So you would just go do the one and then hop to the next one and then keep going. And that was cool because you knocked out 4 characters in like the first 2 miles of the race. And I think there was at least like one other double stop on there.
Those lines for the half were so long. For your middle of the pack people, I mean, so long. Like, you couldn't even tell who the character was or where the end of it was some of those times when you would see that line.
Yeah, they need like a cast member with like the Slinky Dog line ends here.
Right. So, go on.
But yeah, overall, I mean, this isn't my favorite half marathon course, but you do get to go through Magic. You get to go through the castle. Is this... No, you would have ran through the castle last time you would have ran it, right?
Yeah, I think I've done 2 or 3 Princess 2, 3, and I ran through the castle both and or all 3 of those times.
Yep. Was your family able to catch you spectating?
Yes. It was not without problems, though. So they did try... Well, before I even get to my family, so was it mile 3 or 4 when we're running 3? It must have been 3 when we're running towards the Magic Kingdom and we're on the highway, and there was the character stop in the middle of the highway.
That was right about mile 2, and that was Mushu.
Oh, that was Mushu. Okay. So what was fun about that is the people coming, well, maybe not that character, but you could hit that character from both directions. And we saw people doing that. But what was great is before we even made it to the Ticket and Transportation Center, we saw the first set of wheelchair race people coming down.
Coming by.
And then we saw the lead male. And I think the lead female eventually. So we must have seen some more men in there or something as well. But we saw like the lead runners, and that was super exciting and motivating, and it was just fun. We were cheering them on, both them and the wheelchair individuals, and so that was cool to be able to see that exchange going on.
Yeah, it is cool to see the runners coming back. It's even cool from the other side to see like
the sea
runners
of
coming,
people, the sea of humanity coming at you.
But like everyone's so excited, it's still the start of the race there. So it is fun both ways seeing it. I stopped and like filmed some of the people coming by there. So it is a cool part especially when you're coming back. If you get to see that, because otherwise, like that coming back is a pretty boring part coming up the highway there.
It's so bad. So we'll talk about that in a minute. So my family tried to come out and see me, and actually they were going to bring me. I carry a personal water bottle with me, and the plan was that they were going to catch me at 2 locations during the course. They were going to swap out my personal water bottle with nice cold water. The first goal was to have them see me at the Contemporary Bay Lake, rather, like at that corner. And if I had just told them to go like in front of the convention center, they would have been able to actually get to me. And so unfortunately, they were not able to. I wasn't able to get to them. I tried to like run off course to get to that corner and definitely was stopped by that police officer. And then, and I was like, the convention center people are right there on the course. You could have told this group of people that wanted to see their family. And my husband asked if he could give me something. I asked you if you would give me something. You're standing in front of me. I understand you're doing your job, but if you could talk to the people who are in charge and say, hey, maybe we could tell these people to go 5 feet down the row so that they can see the runners. I do understand the reasons you don't want people handing off something to runners, whatever. It was a clear bottle of water. So, but you could have told them that my kid could have kissed me if he went in front of the convention center. So who woke up at like 5 a.m. Right. So that's my rant for that moment. The second time that I saw him was over in front of the Poly, another area that they couldn't really get to me. At that point, I could run across the road, see them, wave to my son a little bit closer and get that much closer to him. And we did exchange my water bottle at that point. But I definitely had to cross the road. I wasn't supposed to, so I hurried up and ran back.
Yeah, they definitely sometimes make it harder than it needs to be. But Matt McGuire asked best locations for family to spectate. So if you're staying at Bay Lake or the Contemporary, go down, pass towards the Contemporary, because there were people, kind of along the course
right there. So yeah, if you were by the convention center area, you could have been right on the course. The Ticket and Transportation Center is another location that there was a lot of people that you could be pretty close. I don't think you could have passed something to somebody.
Yeah, you could have.
Oh, you could have? Okay, I couldn't remember.
Yeah, you're right there. That's one of the like designated areas where there's basically active transportation to, because you can take the monorail. And then you can also then take the monorail to Magic Kingdom, I think before 7 a.m. And you can spectate on Main Street.
Is a spot. And in the past, when I ran it, my husband actually did see me on Main Street. That was not a place we were going to take my son for this particular race. It's real packed. Awesome, amazing probably to be in that energy. Amazing as a runner to run through it. But that is another location just right down Main Street. But you're like real cozy with the people next to you.
Yeah, a few race weekends, Katie hasn't done the half, and she'll go there, and she loves it. And it's just such a cool vibe. There's music going. Everyone's just cheering for the runners. And as a runner, it's like the most hype part of the race is, you just ran down this highway to get into Magic Kingdom, and then, there's just all these lights, and you're running down towards the castle. It's like, why you do Run Disney is, that moment there.
For sure. Running through the castle. That's it. There was a lot of Magic Kingdom time. I don't remember that from years in the past, like running, especially like that back area, maybe. And it's possible it's been, 10 years at least, I think, since I've done my last Run Disney race. And there was a good amount of Magic Kingdom time. I enjoyed it.
Yeah, you do. So you hit mile 5 right in the middle of Main Street there. And then you hit mile 6, literally right after where the Villain's Float character was. It's in the middle of the water stop. So get almost a whole mile in Magic Kingdom. And you get to see a lot of the park, too.
A lot of the park. And there's good bathrooms. We hit the bathrooms over in Adventureland. And so really like that. Another location, Matt, to have your family go or for you to go is the Grand Floridian. So... yeah. I would say I sent my family to the Poly. That didn't work out so well. But the Grand Floridian, you were right there again on the course. in the before times and in the future times, you would be able to go to the Polynesian, and usually you can cross the road and be on that golf course. I don't know what's going to happen and where they're going to put that hotel that they're putting up somewhere over there. So that might affect things. But right now, all of that was completely blocked off, except for the water station that was over there. And there was a charity or something that could make it back in there. But other than that, I don't think that anybody was really along the golf course.
Yeah, no, not really. But yeah, Grand Floridian. If you are running Wine and Dine, and we don't know what the course is going to look like for springtime, but I'm going to imagine that you're going to run Hollywood and Epcot, so you're going to run that back path there. So for those races, an Epcot resort is really nice because typically you can walk right out of your room and see the race, and that's still true for the 10Ks as well.
You are right there, like easy. You can high five everybody. There's nothing blocking you.
You're on the course.
There's not a main road that they're needing to protect people at.
Yeah. I know for the marathon specifically, people were also going to Coronado as well, but that's only going to be marathon specific.
Mm-hmm. Mile 12 of the half marathon also, like right up where the Epcot
the bus stations.
Bus corral, the bus stations. That was another spot that I actually saw my family again at that time. And so they were very cute. So
were
really
they able to then make it to see your finish? Did they have enough time to get over there?
I don't think they were planning to really watch me finish.
Okay.
So that was never in the plan. Again, we were trying to keep my son a little bit distanced from, a large, complete gathering of people. So it was by design that they would see me over a little bit before. But then my son did see me walking out of basically the finishing chute with, getting my medals. I think they saw me.
Very cool. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so back to the race. I think we're over by, we're finishing up around the Magic Kingdom. We head out by the back of Grand Floridian, right? Like one of those little roads out there, Grand Floridian Way.
This was so eerie because when it was dark, it was foggy, like really foggy that morning. And there's that TV that was playing Let It Go right before the Anna and Elsa meet and greet. But you couldn't really see the TV. You could just kind of see the ring of light around it because it was just fog. And usually I always bash that part, but it was kind of cool.
Yeah, that sounds cool. For me, it was not. It was daylight, so.
Yeah, there was a lot of fog on the course. Towards the start, too, it was foggy for us.
Yeah. Made it just that much darker. And then we went over by the Poly and ran up that way. And then the dreaded part of the run where the sun was fully out and we have to run back to Epcot on the highway in the heat.
That's rough.
This is where being, mid to back of the pack is just a little bit, it was a little bit painful. At that point, my running buddy and I, we both put our headphones in and we would randomly talk, but we were just like, you know what, let's just listen to something that we can ignore the fact that we're doing this. So
that really is kind of the grind, getting to 10. And then 10 is kind of really, it's sneakily hilly because you're going up and over all these bridges. And then you got to do the turnaround kind of into 12 there.
Yes. And so many
that
bridges.
Part stinks.
And then we thought that there'd be I was like, is this the last one? And, at this point, all of us that are together in this section are sort of around, we're kind of just together, right? We're all running the same speed. Or walking the same speed. So I was like, all right, who's done this before? This is clearly the last of these bridges and inclines that we have to go over, right? And people would be like, I think so. Maybe. Then we'd get another one. I'm like, you liars. So I remember that from 10 years ago, and it was traumatizing again this time. Because you're so tired. And after doing both races, right around mile 8, I really started to feel my legs a bit and just, even my core is what hurt the most. The a couple days after that, I really need to work on my core strength. Especially if I'm doing a challenge. I'm never doing a challenge again. But if you're doing like,
Spoilers.
yeah, that many miles, I guess another thing, base and then work on your core, because that to me, I felt like had a more long-term problem than any other part of my body besides my current swollen knee.
Cross-train. Yeah,
Yeah.
I started to get kind of tired towards mile 10. I ran with a buddy all literally up through mile 12, and then we got into Epcot, and I kind of just tailored off a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, I had a blast. It was someone who I hadn't run a lot of races with. Shout out to Tyler. It was a blast running with you.
Aw.
Yeah, it was fun though. I always love like having someone to run with during the races.
Oh my God, it makes such a difference. If you can find somebody, back in my early running days, I had a run buddy and she and I ran at exactly the same speed. It was so perfect. And the last two races, I ran actually with a husband and wife, ran with the wife at the 10K and Brenda, and then I ran with the husband, James, during the half. Well, the 10K and the half. Princess weekend was James. The previous race was Brenda. And just having like those people to have that connection with, oh my God. Try to find a buddy if you can, people.
Yeah, it definitely does enhance the experience for sure.
But if you don't, like I said, if you're in the front of the pack, all the front of the pack people, you're all together, probably not talking to each other because you're going way too fast. And then us back of the pack people, we can still like joke with each other, and people would joke, and many people were on a run walk schedule together, or if they were just running, like you have people to make fun of things and like share the experience with, even if you don't come into the race with somebody.
Yeah, that's typically even like, even the people who didn't run together, we all still, finish, 15, 20 minutes within each other. So, you still meet up with everyone kind of right in that finish area. So I think we literally all had met up by the time we got past the challenge medals there. But anything special about inside of Epcot for you?
I was tired, and we ended up having to do a lot of walking, a lot more. My body was like, okay, it's hot. We're done now. So I guess that really, and we had started, because I made a pact when I was training that I will run the last 0.2 or like, the end. And so when we started running again, I was like, God, I should have started this earlier. I wasn't quite as done as I thought I was. And so maybe that's just something for other people. But honestly, I loved it. It was real crowded. It was hot. And I was proud of myself. I will say.
You should be.
Thank
I
you.
will note, one thing about being like front of the pack is you tend to get like some pretty cool pictures because there's not a lot around. And there was this one photographer, still very early on in the race, and he was so into it. He wasn't in the little tent. He was like in the middle of the course.
Oh my God.
He was like Dutch angling his camera. And I think I posted the picture on our Instagram. It's the picture with Journey into Imagination, but it's also like perfectly framed in all these photos he got. And I wish like I had, been able to catch his name and like give him a compliment, because he was so into it, and they ended up being really cool pictures because of it too.
That's so cool. That's so cool. And really, the photographers were so great on the course. And for people that are going to run a future event, the photographers are always in a little green tents, and they mostly come out once it's daytime. I don't know. I mean, they must come out. They're like out Magic Kingdom. So, because I guess they're still out in the dark for you guys, but for us, it was daytime. So,
Yeah, so they're never like, they're not on the highways, but they're always going to be in any sort of like in park time. There's tons in Magic Kingdom. There was a bunch in Epcot. They have them at the finish line, and then they'll have like, sometimes they'll put them, if you run by a resort, not necessarily for this race, but for the 10K, they had them out at the yacht club area. Any sort of like closed area, they'll tend to have them. And I love our PhotoPass pictures.
Yeah.
I've got files and files of race photos.
It's just great that they're out there doing it, and they really try really hard. So,
but yeah, and then you get to go and do the finish. Finish is always hype. And then they almost always, for half marathons, have like the praise band out there. like
The
right before mile 13, the choir.
Oh yes, yes. Oh, so good. Although they're in a recording, right? Because I would have thought they would have been singing. Like I feel like in other maybe they were done singing by then, but they were definitely not singing when we passed them.
Oh, I've never noticed that. Yeah, I've definitely like had them singing
Yeah.
when we're going
So
by. I think if you watch the end of my marathon video, they're definitely there like singing.
yeah. So I think that maybe, because it was 3 hours into the race by the time we finished, I think, maybe they have to take a little vocal break. I understand. I get it. It's a lot.
That is fair, actually. They like those people they're volunteering basically.
Right.
They're out there for a long time.
Very long time. And there was tons of people after me still
Yeah.
finishing. So
Lots of like little bands out, which I noticed they've
yes.
been doing like since the return. But that's something that's been more prevalent now than I think before, which has been very cool.
Because, it's easy course entertainment, right? Like there was when you were coming back to go into Epcot during one of that turn to cross over the highway, there was a band there, like
Yep.
a high school band. And it was hilarious because that was a part where after we just died on the highway, there was shade. And the band like teachers and the adults that were with the kids and they're all like bundled up and we're like, oh my God, thank God for the shade. And we can finally breathe again. And we're not like scalding on the highway.
But yeah, then you finished. You did
We
you did
finished.
half, returned to the half marathon. Now you
Yeah.
already mentioned that you would not do a challenge again, but you did also mention to us that this may not be your last half marathon.
I I would like to better my half. So I feel like I have it in me to I mean, I definitely have it in me to run a quicker time than I did this time. And I I want to feel better. Like, let's say I do a run walk, which I probably will, because as I age, I just think that was a little bit easier, that recovery and just giving myself that little tiny bit of a break to walk. But I can be more on it and really I can have a stronger finish. And so now that's gonna have to be my goal. I think I'm doing Princess next year and as the half so I can work on a little bit better time.
I think time wise, that's like a good training wise, especially like summer is just so hot. It's hard to like
Press
seriously train in the summer.
right.
But that gives you enough time, like even once you get to the fall and it starts to cool off. Are you considering doing like wine and dine or anything at marathon?
Well, so Brenda, who I ran the marathon weekend with, the 10K, actually texted me today, which is why I know when Wine and Dine goes on sale, because she said, will you do the 10K with me for Wine and Dine? And I was like, "Ugh, when is it? And I'm free. So I am going to do 10K Wine and Dine. And then after I was like, wait, I don't even like those medals. I don't even like, but that's fine. I won't have to spend any money now, except for maybe that little tiny medal I have to have like you do. So I can make like a little Christmas ornament out of it. Now, Amy gave me that idea. So, yes, I am doing that one. I am not doing anything for springtime. And then I think I've also agreed to walk the 10K with one of my girlfriends here in town. So she wants to do her first 10K. She can't run. She walks real fast. She's got to slow down. I can't walk I can run, but I can't walk as fast, I don't think, as she can without like injuring my body. So I think that is what we're doing for marathon weekend. So I went from, I don't know if I'm ever doing Run Disney again to doing just about every event.
Yeah, that's how it happens.
Mm-hmm.
That is how it happens. And it's funny because we always like we contemplate we're like maybe we're not going to do, this race weekend. And then we were talking about how we wish we had done a wine and dine like 5 years ago. We're like we should have done it. Why didn't we do it?
Yeah.
We're so dumb.
The FOMO sets in too, because all your friends come in, like, and
That's
Steve
what it
from,
is. Yep.
yeah, DCL podcast, you have a whole bunch of friends that come in that are outside too of our, current circle now. And it really is super cool to like make all these Disney running friends and getting to see them out there. And yeah,
Seeing the
pretty
people
special.
is like the biggest thing that I'm excited for. And it's funny because like sometimes I'll know like, oh, this person's definitely there and that person is definitely going to be there. And then we'll show up and there'll be like three other people who will be like, I didn't know you were like that happened this time.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
I just didn't know that there were people who were going to be there who were there. And there we all were having a good time.
It's so cool. And something to keep in mind, Disney, for especially the new runners, there's people watching potentially that are going to do their first 5K. And I don't know if you remember, I remember very specifically my first ever running 5K, or even if it's your first time going to be walking it, because you don't typically walk that many miles in a row. Um, these are distances to be proud of. If you think of how many steps you would typically take in a day and how many you take after one of these events. So, and Disney does such a good job. And so what a magical place, right? To accomplish some of your goals.
Yeah, for sure. Is there anything else you want to hit kind of like at the post race, like still?
Yeah, really quick. I did get a little sick after my race. You guys actually helped me. Um,
Yeah, shout
I
out to Amy too.
Oh, huge shout out. She like brought snacks out of her pants basically, and just they everybody was like, "Here's some water." And it, I felt like I was going to pass out. And we were standing like in the middle of the concrete, and then I was worried cuz my son was there, and then I went to you, Lake, at first because you have so much running knowledge, and you're like, "Oh, let's talk to Amy." You guys were so helpful. But I guess it's just something to be mindful of, is really paying attention to your body. A friend of mine over marathon weekend, also for the marathon, had done dopey. She actually did pass out at the finish line. She was at the finish line. I think she was standing in line to take a picture, and woke up on a person basically. Um, so just be really conscious of your body and fueling your body as well. I have had hydration issues leading up to even trying to build my mileage again, which was one of the reasons I wasn't successful in building. I'm like probably the only person on the planet that has to drink liquids for a 3 mile or 2 mile run. But I like have a hydration problem. And so I've just decided to recognize that now, and hydrate. So I don't know what it was, but you guys gave me some sugar and I drank some water, and then I eventually drank a little bit more, I think Powerade, and I think I ate a bar or two, and I just finally, you guys got me seated, you made me sit down. I don't know how to make that past tense, but that really, so just keep track of your body and pay attention to that at the end. Maybe don't, because people celebrate, and if you're a newer runner, don't have the alcohol at the end that you can people pick up right. Some people during marathon weekend will grab the tequila or whatever, grab that margarita, because for the back of the Packers, all the park is open when you're finished. So don't do that, maybe just until you figure out what your body is okay with, so that you don't get yourself in a compromising position.
Yeah, that's good advice, because you do, and you see all the medical people there at the finish and basically going all the way up that line, because it does happen. People, finish and they do all this exertion, and then their heart rate starts to settle and their body is like, oh, I can't do this anymore.
Right. Yeah. So just be conscious of that.
But yeah, I don't really have anything else post race. I do actually, I wanted to shout out, I believe his name was Jonathan, and he said him and his wife had basically been watching our videos, and he came and he was very nice. We had a good conversation. Just wanted to give you a shout out. I'm pretty sure it was Jonathan. I do apologize. This is like 3 weeks ago now.
Right, because you went on a cruise. You had to deal with me being sick after the thing, so you've had a lot on your mind. Just kidding.
But yeah, but we do always appreciate people coming up and saying hi. We did have an issue getting back to the resort, which I'm going to chalk it up to, being a fluke, but,
it happens.
Monorails being monorails, the monorail went down, and then we tried to get an Uber to get back.
No,
and then,
first we went to the bus.
Oh, yeah, but they didn't have...
Which is where the cast member who told us the monorail was down to go to. So, we walked that to the back of the bus loop in Epcot. There was no bus for us. Not a
Yeah,
bus to be
there's no
had.
bus signage for contemporary because it says take the monorail, and there was no cast member there. Like this all had just happened fresh,
But and
so
we
there was
waited though for like 5 minutes still in that bus corral area, and still nobody showed up. Like somebody told us to go there. It had been over 5 minutes of us standing there. People were in front of us, and yet there still was nobody there. So just communication, Disney communication.
yeah. So then we tried to Uber, and our Uber never showed up, and then finally the monorail was fixed, and this was like almost an hour later. So getting
And
back
then
to the resort was awful.
it was awful. And I forgot that I had to check out and and we had to pack and I had to shower and we had brunch. So that was a little stressful.
Yeah, lots of fun there. And so we got back though. I did a classic bounty platter breakfast, and one thing that we did because we were there with our sister-in-law Amy. She doesn't get to go and do the parks all that often like we did. So her and I went into the park. Katie needed to take a rest, which was totally fine. So she went and took a nap, and we went into Magic Kingdom, and we actually did like Genie Plus. We rode rides.
I
Yeah.
forgot that you did Genie
One
Plus.
thing I did do that was actually probably more fun than it should have been. When Amy was going to get her picture taken with Mickey, I sat on one of the benches on Main Street and just like waved congratulations to runners and just like looked at all the runners coming in with their medals, and that was the blast. Just like sitting there and chatting with people. I had a lot of fun doing that. There's a lot of energy in the park with all the like racers and everyone who had just finished. Everyone's got their shirts, their medals. The whole hub is just like people taking medal pictures.
Yeah.
And then we ended up having dinner in the same restaurant at the same time. We were all at Satuli Canteen, which
Skipper Canteen.
Skipper Canteen.
I mean, it
Yep,
starts
not
with an
Satuli.
S, so it's been it's late now. It's way past our bedtimes.
It
But
is, yeah.
yeah, so like Lake posted a picture while I was waiting for my table, I think I was waiting still, and it was of Skipper Canteen, and I'm like, wait, are you here now? Yes. So we got sat, and I went over and I got to talk to them for like 10 minutes or something. We had some of the same dishes ordered at his table and my table, so that was fun. And then we met up briefly after, and you took the most amazing pictures of me with my medals in the hub. It was so cool. Those pictures are so fantastic. And then one of my son and I. So
I really like the one with you and your son. He's just like so excited. For context, I gave him my 10K
Yes.
medal to hold because he wanted to hold a medal. So I was like, yeah, here you go. And it's just the most adorable picture.
yeah, so thank you very much. So now Lake is responsible for taking pictures of me going forward forever.
Yep. For the record, I am not a professional photographer. I do happen to own a fairly nice camera, though,
Which he
that I
knows how to use.
sometimes can kind of use.
Yeah. So it was just so fun to see you guys again after that. So
Yeah, it was fun. And then I think we even just sat in the hub grass for a little while, just
till we got kicked out.
Yeah.
Because that was going to be a viewing area and for the fireworks at nighttime. And so basically they were like, when this stage show ends, you need to leave. But
People are paying money to stand where you are sitting.
and then Amy went out again. Amy is crazy, right? Didn't she go back out to the Magic Kingdom to see the fireworks there? I'm almost positive.
So Katie met up with us kind of right before dinner. We did the pictures and stuff, and I was like, okay, like I didn't do a nap or anything. I tapped out. I said, I'm sorry, like I need to go relax. And also, we had that amazing view at the room. Yeah. I was like, if I'm gonna watch fireworks, like I want to do it from up there because for me, like I can go into the park any day and watch the fireworks, even though I never go and watch the fireworks. Mm-mm. That was my first time seeing Enchantment, actually.
Oh, right.
But if you don't know, if you have a resort view, there's a TV channel that you can turn on, and it plays the music into your room for you. So I just put that on, and then I even set the camera up out on there. I think I live streamed it too. I just put my phone, I hooked it up to my tripod too, and I just sat out on the balcony and watched the fireworks, and I had a great time just being up there hanging out.
That's so cool.
yeah, but I think that about does it. Do you have any other thoughts from the weekend?
I don't think so. I was really glad to have done it. My first challenge, my last challenge. I really, really loved it. I know people are like, oh, you'll do it again. I don't need to. Oh,
I'm
that's
good.
batteries.
I'm
Okay.
reloading.
Um, see, it's the end of the show. He's done. I know people are like, oh, you say that about your first marathon and then you'll do it again. No, nope. I was so happy to be done with that marathon. I mean, it was great. My training program was perfect. Just like this, it all went fine. I don't need to do it again. Plus, those 3 a.m.s are hard. Now I'm just talking until Lake comes back.
I am
If
here.
anybody else has any other questions, reach out. We are signing off, but we can try to answer them in the future for you. Lake will be doing more of these shows. I'm sure the springtime surprise. Are you going to be doing a pre-show, or what is your plan for that?
So I got to figure out if a pre-show is possible between the group of us. I know Steve and I are both running it, so if possible, we will try to do a springtime surprise prepper for you. If not, we will both be at the weekend. Maybe we'll try to, plan something, even if we just do like a quick little live stream after one of the races, just to be like, hey, this is what we thought. And then we'll do like a whole show afterwards. After that, Run Disney Rundown will probably slow down a little bit. We might go down to like maybe one show a month. This podcast show that we're doing, little collab, is really just for fun. We're not trying to make this like any sort of large portion of work, so it's kind of whatever we want to do. But I think in the summer we'll kind of switch to talking about like training and
Yeah.
kind of some other like more running general topics as well. If you have any ideas for what you'd like to hear, please drop them in the comments or shoot us a message. We would be happy to discuss them. We did do one episode already that was like Run Disney versus other races, where our friend Kelsey came on and talked about Chicago. And that might be one of my favorite episodes that we've actually done so far, honestly, because it was super interesting to hear about a world's major.
Mm-hmm. That's the marathon I did too. So it was, it's cool to be on a course that hours before professionals are on the exact same. Like, it's the only sport that kind of thing can happen.
Yeah.
So
So one last little tidbit of information here. The 10K had 10,885 finishers. The half marathon had 12,772. So still seeing less people in the half marathons in general than we used to see. But do you have anything else? Do you want to talk about where people can find you, follow you, all of that fun stuff? Book their travel through you?
Oh, okay. Well, I do the DCL podcast with Steve Creasy as our host and Chris Bright. And then you can find me all over the internet at Pack Your Pixie Dust. I'm actually going on the Dream tomorrow. So I won't be really responding to stuff. But after that, if you have any specific questions for me related to travel or Run Disney, I'd be happy to help you answer those questions if I can. You can find me at Pack Your Pixie Dust. And then I also am a travel agent. So if you are not already working with one and you would like some information, you can reach out to me for that as well.
All right. And as many of you know, you can follow me at MouseGen on YouTube. That's where we post all of our race videos. We already have our half marathon and 10K video out for Princess, so you can see the courses, see the characters, follow along the race, put it on when you run on the treadmill, all of that fun stuff. I am working on the expo and then a general vlog video. And then we also have all sorts of other videos. I have a whole vlog series coming out on our cruise, which should be a super awesome video series. So make sure to subscribe there. You can also follow us on Instagram at mouse.gen and Facebook at mousegen. But that's going to do it. Thank you all so much for watching. We hope you guys enjoyed this episode. This has been episode 6 of the Run Disney Rundown, and we'll see you next time. Bye, guys.
Bye.
I probably should have planned the outro here.
Apparently. Bye again. Still
Yeah.
bye.
Hold up. I gotta figure out how to make the outro video go.
Just kidding. Just joking. Steve, how do we end this?
Oh no, I did not plan for this.
We are here
Oh,
forever.
wait, I got it.